Hi, I'm Tammy Greenberg, Senior Vice President of Business Development at the RAB, and welcome to the Radio on Main Street podcast. The 2025 ANA Masters of Marketing Conference in Orlando, Florida, was filled with insights and an understanding of the influence that AI, data, and human creativity are contributing to marketing results. Team RAB had the opportunity to share the power of radio in all of its forms with more than 3,000 brand marketers. In this week's episode, RAB's president and CEO, Mike Hulvey, sits down with Yadia Suarez, co-founder of Insyders, an influencer marketing company. With a career that spans iHeartRadio, television, Univision, and the creator economy, Yadia brings a really unique vantage point on where influence really lives and why radio's talent remains one of the most powerful, trusted, and under-leveraged forces in the influencer marketing landscape.
It is Radio on Main Street at the ANA. Well, I am thrilled today to be talking to Yadia, who's going to give us a little insight into the many different, and one or two of the many different aspects that we focus on when it comes to radio and audio, influencers in particular. But Yadia, you have a radio background. You also have a radio husband.
I do have.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mike. I do have a radio background and TV as well. I started my career with iHeartRadio. Fun fact: I'm you can't see, but I'm very short, so my name was Fun Size.
Well, we were talking earlier, and she goes, "I have a great radio nickname." And I said, "Wait till we get going with our podcast." So Fun Size.
So Fun Size. So we're gonna make sure that this podcast is fun.
Well, you were with a group here at the ANA, Insyders. Tell us who they are.
Yeah, Insyders is an influencer marketing company where we manage influencers as well as drive the creator economy with brands and agencies alike to build influencer campaigns.
Well, as you well know, radio has the original influencers.
They sure do. I always say that. I mean, the first radio broadcast was in 1906. So those are the people that really started driving influence.
So tell us about, like, here at the ANA, again, we believe strongly in the power of our talent and our personalities and our brands. What's the message that you're getting here and you're engaging with at the ANA?
Well, I think there's a theme of authenticity and realness. I know there's a lot of conversations about AI and how that's overtaking things, but at the end of the day, my thoughts are that authenticity can't be automated. And if you think about why people like to tune into radio or podcasts, it's because they build this one-to-one connection with whoever's on the other side of that mic. And you can't do that with a robot. So if you think about, let me ask you something. You're wearing a very nice suit jacket. Did somebody recommend it to you? How did you purchase this suit jacket?
Went to my favorite men's store, and the gentleman that works with me looked at it and said, "This would look great on you."
So he influenced you.
And I bought it.
There you go. And that's like a nano influencer. There's influencers all over the place. You don't necessarily need a microphone. It obviously helps with the reach, but everybody can be an influencer. And we go back to the days of when you had the radio and you're fixing the antennas, like you're calling your neighbors and say, "Hey, come over here, let's watch this," or "I went to this restaurant." So influencing has been happening for forever. And now we have these microphones. And what's really cool with podcasts is that there's these subcategories too. People love murder mystery, or people love, just some of the top, Alex Earl talking about their life, and it almost feels like you're on the phone with your best friend or big sister. So it's pretty neat how that's evolved, and now it's just so much more accessible.
So how did you transition from radio to television, then into this space itself?
That's a great question. I feel like I stumbled upon it. I started both in TV and radio simultaneously. So I was on air, and then I was also a news reporter. And then I decided that I didn't really like the news as much. It was weighing on me. So I decided, hey, let me do advertising for TV networks. So then I started working for NBC Universal, doing ads for Bravo, Esquire, Style Network. And then that evolved. I'm Hispanic, so then I went and I worked for Univision. And from there, digital media just quickly kind of embedded itself in that. And influencers after the pandemic really boomed, and I had been following for a while, and I've been in this industry for over a decade, and it's pretty incredible to see all the different platforms that come and go, the different types of creators. I mean, rest in peace, Clubhouse, Vine, like none of those exist, but then you've got the TikToks of the world or the Reddits that are growing. So it's been pretty fascinating to just see how the creator economy landscape continues to evolve.
You look at the dollars that are generated in this space, up to 100 million at the moment, but it's growing exponentially.
Absolutely.
What do you see as the influencer future from the economic perspective?
Okay, that's a great question. I believe that in 2026 and beyond, marketers are actually going to start with influencer as the tactic and then figure out ways that they can repurpose that content and make it live on their other media channels. So for example, they'll go to a creator and maybe get 10 to 15 pieces of content that then, some will live on social, but then it's gonna live in their programmatic strategy, on their out-of-home strategy. And before, it was always an afterthought. And I believe marketers are going to start there and then seed it across all of the different tactics that they have.
What advice do you have? And again, if we're talking to the sellers and the managers in the audio space on this podcast, what message do you have for them in terms of that gold that sits in the studio every day and that lives in their communities and thrives? What message do you have for them?
There's so much money there. They are, again, the OG influencers, and I work with a lot of radio companies and trying to help them understand how their on-air talent are influencers, and it can live way beyond the microphone and streaming. So thinking about ways that, right now you and I are sitting here, we can be videotaping this and cutting it 6, 10, 15 different ways that can live on YouTube and TikTok and repurposing that content. So there's just so much gold there where, you can have an audio sponsorship where somebody's talking about the brand, but then we cut and I'm taking a sip of, my coffee because we got sponsored by this coffee brand. There's just so many ways that they can, expand outside of just the studio walls. And so I definitely recommend everybody to think about how can you repurpose this content? How can you embed brands within that conversation digitally so then you can increase your footprint?
All right, Yadia, we're sitting here. It's the end of 25. Everyone's thinking 26, but I want to challenge you to think 2030.
Okay.
All right, now think about your space in 2030. Provide us some insights.
Okay. I believe that in 2030, marketers will be utilizing automation like the ChatGPTs of the world to help speed things up when it comes to influencer. I don't think it will replace it, but I believe that that's going to be a starting point. So maybe marketers are going to be utilizing that to help develop briefs, and then influencers will come in and weigh in on it. I also believe, because I'm starting to see it now, that a lot of brands are bringing in influencers like consultants and in the upfront rather than waiting until they're like, hey, okay, we have this idea, we want this campaign, and execute it. So I think influencers are going to almost become like executive producers of the content that is going to come to be, because at the end of the day, they know the best trends, they're behind the camera, they're editing, so they're going to be, brands' greatest weapons.
Well, thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you, Mike.
Let me ask you one final radio question. Radio works really well because?
Ooh, okay. Let me think about this. Radio works well because I think it touches upon a different sense, right? Because if you're in your car, you're not watching something. So I believe that you're actually focused on what people are saying, because we are so distracted all the time, and radio is the one time that you're either driving in the car or you're sitting down that you can be listening. And I think it really strokes a specific sense that maybe other platforms or other things can't touch upon.
Yadia, thank you.
Did I pass?
You did.
Amazing.
With flying colors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
From reminding us that radio personalities were the original influencers, to showing how on-air talent can extend brand storytelling across video, social, and experiential content, Yadia underscores one core truth: authenticity cannot be automated. And in a world of AI generated content and shrinking attention spans, the human voice, trusted, familiar, and local, breaks through and becomes even more valuable. Yadia is spot on when she says the brands who embrace creators early, repurpose content across platforms, and unlock the full value of radio talent won't just follow the future, they're going to shape it.